for questions or actually demonstrations. Actually, we've already started the demonstrations in the car before the press conference, so it sounds like a lot of people are interested. But as you can guess, the Mazda 3 is a very important car for us. The C segment in which it competes is the largest segment in the world. It's the second largest here in the United States. In fact, 1 out of every 3 cars sold in the U.S. is a compact car. We have the segment's very competitive. There are 30 nameplates that are in the segment already, and we think it's only going to get more competitive because the segment's expected to grow by about 25% in the next 6 years. Now, we have sold over 130 million Mazda 3s since we introduced the vehicle, and we've won a lot of awards and accolades along the way. The car is sold in over 120 countries, and it represents 30% of Mazda sales globally and 40% of Mazda sales in the United States. So clearly, when we introduce a new Mazda 3, it's vitally important that we get it right, and we think we have here. Now, before I start talking about this car, let's think back to when the Mazda 3 was introduced, way back in 2003. If you think about what the compact car landscape looked like in 2003, it was replete with econo boxes. They were kind of boring, it was box-on-box design, not a whole lot of fun to look at, not a whole lot of fun to drive. Mazda 3 changed all that. First, the Mazda 3 was really nice looking, even back in 2003, and it still is now. Second, because performance is in the DNA of everything we make, we brought the Mazda 3 out with standard multi-link rear suspension and standard 4-wheel disc brakes, which was a first in the segment. And then more importantly, we also brought to the market a lot of features that you just didn't find in the compact segment. Things like leather, navigation, xenon headlights, rain-sensing wipers. Think about it. Before the Mazda 3 came along, in the compact segment, you couldn't get a car with leather or navigation, no matter how much you wanted to pay for it. But you could with the Mazda 3 when it was introduced. So that caused the competitors to take notice, and everybody pretty much upped their game substantially. So there's a lot of content now that's offered in the compact segment. So even back then, since it was introduced, the Mazda 3, let me make sure I'm on the right slide here. Since it was introduced in 2003, the Mazda 3 has stood for 4 key values. Okay, the first is distinctive interior and exterior design. The second is fun-to-drive performance, great fuel economy, and then the last is class above content and technology. And this car is no different. In fact, I think we've upped the game on all of those features. Let's talk first about design. A couple of years ago, we introduced a new design language for Mazda called Kodo. And Kodo translates into soul in motion. And it's this motion that we try to convey in the lines of the cars. This design language was first introduced in the Shinari concept that you're looking at right here. It was a 4-seat, 4-door sport coupe. And as you can see from the lines, we have a lot of power and vitality that's communicated into it, while at the same time sleekness and sophistication. And this design language was brought to the market first with the CX-5, and then with the 2014 Mazda 6, and now with the 2014 Mazda 3. Kodo design language has 3 elements or principles. The first is speed. What we want to do is convey a sense of motion even when the car is standing still. And the second is tension. This idea that the car is a bundled sense of energy that's ready to be released. And then the third principle is allure. At the same time, we want it to be sophisticated and have a sense of hand craftsmanship. Create a feeling of seductiveness, emotional, and soulful feeling while we're doing that. Now, as you can see with looking at the Mazda 3, the Kodo execution is first brought out by this very, very long hood. So you can see the hood has moved very, very long, and the A-pillar has been moved back quite a bit. Not only has it been moved back, but the A-pillar is raked rearward. And what these two elements combine to do is create a sense of forward motion. So the car looks like it's up on its haunches and ready to move forward, and has a sense of power. In addition to that, we also have the characteristic chiseled fender lines that we've got in all the Mazda vehicles. So you can see that they start at the front and actually go all the way back. Again, this is creating a sense of power and vitality, and it flows rearward. Now, overall, this car is actually about a half inch lower, sits about a half inch lower. It's 1.5 inches wider. We've taken the wheelbase and increased it by 2.5 inches, but at the same time what we've done is shorten the overhangs, so the overall length of the car is actually less than the car that it replaced. So what we've done is sacrificed no sense of nimbleness. Now I know what you're thinking. Yes, we've increased the wheelbase, we've shortened the overhang, the overall length of the car is shorter, but at the same time we've increased passenger volume and we've increased cargo volume. The shoulder room has been increased and the hip room has been increased. So we've actually done a good job of making the outside smaller and increasing the inside at the same time. And along with that, we've taken 100 pounds out of the car year over year. And because the A-pillar is moved farther back and we've taken the side view mirrors and moved them down to the doors, we've increased visibility there. So this design execution is not just pretty, it's also very effective. And talking about effective, probably a good way to demonstrate that is the aerodynamics for the vehicle. The car has great aerodynamic flow. All of the airflow exhibits no vortices as it's flowing over the body, and it converges to a single point behind the vehicle. For the undercarriage, what we've done is gone to a full cover, so the airflow flows nicely underneath the vehicle, and they've gone to the point of sweating the details like the shape of the muffler. If you look at the cross-section of the muffler, it's actually carved and tilted up slightly, so what that does is it directs the airflow off the back of the vehicle and upwards, so it helps create that convergence behind the vehicle. So all of this leads to a great coefficient of drag for the 5-door of 0.275 and a class-leading coefficient of drag for the 4-door of 0.255. So you're getting into hybrid country, cars that don't necessarily look great but are designed primarily for aerodynamics with a 0.255 coefficient of drag. Now, as much as we've made a dramatic change with the exterior of the vehicle, we've probably done more with the interior of the vehicle. And when you get a chance to get in it and take a look at it, you'll see that we've created a very driver-oriented cockpit. It follows our heads-up cockpit concept. The idea is to allow the driver to become one with the vehicle and concentrate on the driving at hand and minimize driving distraction. While at the same time, what we want to do is create a sense of openness and comfort for the passenger. So you'll notice that the dash panel drops away and it's carved out because of the fact that we've raised the display, the 7-inch display up, and that creates an open space for the passenger. So hopefully you'll agree with me that the design of the new 2014 Mazda 3 is a game changer. Now, let's spend a little bit of time talking about what appear to be two divergent objectives. One is fun to drive performance and the other is fuel economy. Thanks to SkyActiv technology, Mazda feels like it can deliver both. If you take a look at the powertrains that we have for 2014, we're carrying over our 2-liter SkyActiv G engine, only we've improved the fuel economy now for 2014 model year. This engine was introduced with the 2012, but we made some changes to it, so we're now getting 41 miles per gallon. Those changes include adding the 4-into-2-into-1 header that's characteristic of our SkyActiv G engines. What that allows us to do is increase the compression to a full 13-to-1 compression ratio, which is very high for a gasoline engine. You normally find that kind of compression ratio in racing cars, and that actually boosts our mid-range torque on the engine by 14 foot-pounds. So we've got an improvement in driving dynamics as well as an improvement in fuel economy year over year with this engine. But the real big news is for 2014, we've also introduced the 2.5-liter SkyActiv G engine. Now this engine makes 184 horsepower and still gets up to 39 miles per gallon highway. And it's available with our IE Loop regenerative engine braking system. Our IE Loop system is exclusive to Mazda. It is capacitor-based, and what it does is it takes energy off of the engine when you're coasting and uses it to generate electricity, which is then stored in the capacitor. That electrical energy is then released back into the electrical system, and it saves about 5% in everyday fuel economy as you're driving. That engine, when compared to the 2.5-liter MZR engine that it replaces, gives you more horsepower and more torque across the entire rev range, and at the same time gives you a 10 mile per gallon improvement in fuel economy. So clearly with SkyActiv, you can get the best of both worlds with regard to performance and fuel economy. And that's not really a hollow promise, because if you take a look at the charts here and compare the Mazda 3 to its competitive set, we pretty much lead in the combination of power and fuel economy. And that's even more apparent when you take a look at the base automatic trims. Our base car, four-door sedan delivers 41 miles per gallon. And to get that kind of fuel economy in a competitive vehicle, you usually have to step up to a fuel economy trim package, or a fuel economy package of some sort. Now, SkyActiv is not just about chasing a great highway fuel economy number. We also deliver great city and combined fuel economy as well. So it's really all about everyday fuel efficiency performance. And if you take a look at the 5-door, it kind of stands alone. Among its competitive set, it's the only one that delivers 30 miles per gallon in the city, 40 miles per gallon on the highway, for a combined fuel economy of 33 miles per gallon. So both of these powertrains do a pretty good job of delivering fun to drive while between long distances between gasoline stops. Really, with SkyActiv technology, you get the best of both worlds. Now, our owners will not only get a chance to enjoy the fun to drive and the great fuel efficiency, but we've also got a lot of class-leading features that we're bringing down. First, we probably want to summarize some of the features that we're carrying over. A lot of these features, like bi-xenon headlights, rain-sensing wipers, for instance, are features that have started to show up in the segment, but not many of our segment competitors offer. So we're still somewhat exclusive on those. But then for 2014, on top of those items, we've also added things like our new signature daytime running light LED display and the matching rear LED lights. We have 18-inch wheels that are available on the car, as well as rear view camera, paddle shifters, IE loop, and active grille shutters that I mentioned before. And then a segment exclusive, which actually some of you have already experienced, which is our active driving display. It's a heads-up display that we have that provides key driving information right there just below the driver's line of sight. Again, it goes back to the idea of creating a cockpit environment where the driver can focus on driving and it minimizes distractions. Looking at this slide here, it shows you that the active driving display is focused to the driver's eyes, and it projects a virtual image that is out over the hood 1,500 millimeters away from the driver's eye. This virtual image displays key driving information. So you have your speed. If you've set in your route guidance, it'll also give you your next turn direction as it's coming up, and will count down the distance to that. You also have your active safety feature controls, as well as your active safety feature warnings. So it does a very good job of providing a lot of key information without you having to take your eyes off the road. In addition to the active driving display, we're also debuting Mazda Connect, which is our in-car connectivity system. It's the next generation system that we have for Mazda, and it's making its debut in the 2014 Mazda 3. Similar to what we did with a clean sheet of paper with regard to SkyActiv technology, it's our attempt to allow the driver to manage a lot of information that they come to expect in their everyday lives through their smart devices, and bring it into the car, deal with it, but at the same time minimize driver distraction. The key piece of the Mazda Connect system is our 7-inch touchscreen display. 7 inches is not driven by our accountants. The 7-inch display size was determined based on research that we did as far as the size of the typeface, the amount of information that could be displayed at any one time that a driver can deal with without distraction and confusion, and at the same time the black space that has to exist between each of those lines of information to make them legible. All of that comes out to 7 inches based on the distance away. That's telling me I got to hurry up, I think. Now, the Mazda Connect system is designed primarily to be take driver input mechanically. All right, so we have a commander control and some key buttons there. It is also available to be used as a touchscreen, and we have some very robust voice recognition system. But we found through our research that if you start developing the user interface with the idea that it's going to be used from a controller system with manual input, you can go a long way to improving driver interaction. And there are a lot of advantages that this has over a touchscreen system when it's well designed. You have tactile feedback. You can operate a lot of the things blind without ever having to look down, better accuracy, and it forces a simple screen layout, which I think you'll see when you have a chance to play with this. Now, we've got a lot of information, as I said, that's put through the Mazda Connect system. So it allows you to manage not only your contacts and your communication information, but you can select from a number of audio sources. So we not only have AM, FM, and satellite radio, we have HD radio, we have 2 USB inputs that you can use. You can pair your smart device and you can access your audio information via Bluetooth, and we also allow configuration with some key apps, Pandora, AHA, and Stitcher. So those are internet radio apps that you can also use. And some of those also allow you to bring in your Facebook posts and your Twitter feeds. So what the car will do is actually read those to you while you're driving. We won't display them because we don't want you to be distracted. So a lot of content and a very efficient way to manage it. Here are some examples of how the interface works. First thing you'll notice is we only have 5 sections, and the key sections are right there in the center. And then within that, you have those 3 key sections are mimicked right here in those big static buttons. Very easy to get to. You can see he presses communication, he presses audio, takes him right to his audio source, presses Navi, takes him right to Navi. Presses the center button, which is the home button, presses enter on the commander, right there. Now, in addition to that top-level navigation, we've also done a lot of work on the lower-level navigation. As you can see, we use icons because they're more quickly recognized, but until you learn what those icons are, even though we tried to make them intuitive, we also have rollovers, so you'll get the little tags there that will explain to you what each of them are. And on top of that, what we tried to do is to take the most used areas and we've put them on the far left and the far right, because the commander control, you can spin it all the way clockwise and it'll just butt up against the far right side. Spin it to the left, it'll go to the far left. What that means is you can always get to the settings controls, which are always located on the far right, without ever looking at it. You just hit a button, spin the thing, hit the button again, you're in settings before you take your eyes off the road. In addition to that, as I said, you can also use a touchscreen because sometimes, even though you can tune the radio here with this, it's a lot faster if you use that with your finger. We also have a favorites button, which is right here, which is sort of a modern-day equivalent to presets. What you can do is very quickly add a radio station to your favorites. You can store up to 50 radio stations in any combination of AM, FM, or satellite. On top of the radio stations, you can also store up to 50 destinations from your navigation system, and you can store up to 50 contacts. It'll download your full contact book, but rather than scrolling through all of those, if you've got contacts you use frequently, you can put them in favorites and hit it with one button. In addition to being able to use the controller for navigation, it's also a touch screen. Sometimes it's faster to scroll through the map that way or pinch it to make it larger and smaller, although you can also do that. And finally, we have, as I said, we have a very strong voice recognition engine. It isn't natural language, but it uses a whole library of keywords. So when you say a sentence that has the word address in it, it immediately jumps to the idea that you're looking to enter a new address in navigation. And it does a very, very good job of taking a full address and turning it into, as you pointed out there, basically presenting you with it, and then you can go ahead and enter. Now, on top of the new Mazda Connect system, one of the other things that we've done to the compact segment is introduced a full suite of active safety features. We call them iActiveSense, and these are safety features that were first introduced to the market in our Mazda3 for 2014, but now we're bringing them to the compact segment. These use technology such as milliwave radar, which is the sender and receiver that's right here, near-infrared lasers, which are up there in the sending pod, and video cameras to help the driver manage a lot of the things that they have to deal with on the road in a more safe fashion, give them more information to make better decisions, and hopefully minimize collisions if they occur. The suite that's available on the Mazda3 for 2014 include our adaptive front lighting system, blind spot monitor and rear cross traffic alert, the lane departure warning system, high beam control, forward obstruction warning, smart city brake support, and radar cruise control. Those last two, radar cruise control and smart city brake support, are class exclusives. All right, and while some other competitors have some of these other features, primarily after we introduce them to the segment, no manufacturer offers a car in the compact segment that has this full suite. So that's what I mean about bringing up-to-date and leading technology down to the compact segment. And this is all available in a car that starts for less than $17,000. All right, so as I said, I've spent a little bit of time giving you a quick overview on the 2014 Mazda 3. I want to thank you very much for your time. Hopefully, if you had a chance to drive the car and experience it a little bit more, you'll agree that we've done a pretty good job of sort of upping the game again in the compact segment. And thank you very much for your time. I'm around for questions. Sure.